Okay, welcome back. Video number 7 now for Radiance Films. Can't believe we're closing in on 10. Super excited today to be talking about Yakuza Graveyard, Kinji Fukasaku film, and this is spine number 2. So like I said last time, we're not going to be talking about release orders that much anymore. This is spine number 2. So if you think about them sort of from a catalog perspective, from a spine perspective, right out of the gate with Elio Petri and Kinji Fukasaku, tells you a lot of what you need to know about the strength of Radiance's curation. Let's get into the packaging briefly, and then we'll get into the films. I really can't wait to talk about these movies. So first thing that jumps out is really very, very beautiful cover art. I think this very, very well captures the spirit of the film. Yakuza Graveyard, we'll get into this in just a minute, but it's a dark movie. I mean, there's a lot of really dark themes, and it's not, there's action in the movie, but really this is one of his stronger statement movies. So that the red and the black really work well. This is the original theater art with more traditional kind of Blu-ray backing as far as having the summary and some of the supplements and these things. Nice booklet in there. It's a 32-page booklet, and as always, the insert matches the color of the disc very well. So all these little touches from Radiance, which are so nice. As far as features on this disc, there's a filmmaker whose name is Kazuya Shirashi. And he gives a background on the movie, on Fukasaku. It's about a 15-minute documentary. And there's a 12-minute documentary by Town Mess, who shows up on a lot of releases these days. And he really gets into the collaboration between Fukasaku and leading actor Maiko Kaji, who's amazing in a lot of the movies she's in with him. There's a special Easter egg, which I won't spoil, but it's fun if you dig around. Some imagery, and then the booklet. So the booklet has, it talks about Koreans in the Yakuza movies, which is interesting because Takashi Miike talks about this later as well. But it's a writing that talks about Korean in Yakuza movies, as well as some writing about the screenwriter Kazuo Kasahara. So lots of really good content in here, beautiful packaging, and yeah, let's get into the movie because I'm very excited to talk about this. Okay, so I think I should just say right out of the gate, very big Fukasaku stan. He's, I think, a very talented director who, to be fair, gets a lot of love, but is maybe not a household name, I think, in the way he should be. Here's my pile of the different movies I have from him, so I'll get into all these in just a moment. But, Fukasaku and director and writer, Kasahara had this really interesting collaboration where they would focus on the pain and the torment caused by a lot of true crime, Yakuza crime in Japan. So, they had a lot of their movies, especially the Battles Without Honor and Humanity series, but really if you look across the movies they did together, it's either based on true story, or maybe in terms of Graveyard of Honor, it's a very specific kind of biopic of a true person, kind of a larger-than-life figure that became a folk hero in Japan. They're always pulling stories from the news or from the reality of Japan, and I think telling and spinning these stories in a way to show that although the Yakuza life is glorified maybe through media sometimes, or people get excited about these anti-heroes that they see about in the news, they like to show the true cost of these crimes and the lifestyle. So maybe none more so than Yakuza Graveyard. This is it's a dark movie. It's one of the best dirty cops that I've seen in a film. The leading actor is Tetsuya Watari, who was also in Graveyard of Honor with Fukasaku. This one. He was in Graveyards of Honor with Fukasaku the year before, also playing a corrupt cop. So this was a theme, I guess. This was a structure that was working for them. And Watari is amazing at it. His character is definitely has a lot of chaotic energy to him, very unpredictable, very volatile. All these traits are within the character, and I think he really carries this movie. I think for me personally, more than the Battles Without Honor and Humanity series, this is the best single film that Fukasaku made, really dragging home the cost of this life. There's no rest, I guess I should say, for the character, for Watari's character. And you see this downward spiral, and you see a Yakuza woman played by Maiko Kaji, who's willing to sort of stay with him and help him as much as possible, but it also ruins her life. And so you see this kind of relationship that is very similar to a Sid and Nancy type, where they're encouraging each other and bringing each other down. And so you see Maiko Kaji's range as an actor. Obviously, nobody's doubting it by this time. In 1976, she's proven herself time and time again, but this is a very excellent role for her. And most of the supporting characters that come around, both the police force, where Watari works, as well as the Yakuza life that he kind of, bolts himself onto, are maybe more typical genre actors and dialogue and scenes. But I think what I loved for this versus maybe the Battles Without Honor series, as much as I love these, they're amazing to me, this one just surprised me at being even better, because I felt very immediately the connection to the character, despite how crazy he was. And I think between this and Graveyard of Honor, back to back, you get to see some quite amazing moments in Japanese cinema as it pertains to this subgenre of kind of true crime and Yakuza fiction. I always say, who would like this movie, or I always try to think about who would like this movie. Obviously, it has subtitles, right? So that's one thing to know about. But the Battles Without Honor movies really have a extremely chaotic energy, I think, to the point where somebody coming in new, the common complaint is that they're difficult to follow, and it improves on a rewatch for sure. But this one, I think, is probably better in that sense as well. It still has that high energy level. It's never boring, but it's not quite as frenetic. It's very high energy, but not quite as just chaos on the screen. And the families and the allegiances are a little easier to follow here, I believe, as well. So I would recommend this one to anybody. In fact, if you wanted an entry point into Fukasaku, I think this is better than Graveyard of Honor, although they covered similar material, and possibly even his best movie. It's very, very good. If you're just looking to expand into Japanese cinema beyond, Kurosawa or Mizoguchi or somebody that you got introduced to, or if you're interested in the crime genre of films and you're curious what other countries have to offer, I think this is a film that has quite a wide audience that would like it. I should briefly probably touch on the other films by Fukasaku, just to kind of put this in perspective. So he had an amazing run in the 70s. He really had. I'll pull these out in just a moment, but even if you look at movies like Doberman Cop, Cops versus Thugs. This one doesn't show the English title. There's the English title. I put the reverse cover on this. Or these two, which is 8 movies total. So Battles Without Honor and Humanity, and then New Battles. If you look across these, I think, one possible critique, it's not a critique from me, but one possible critique could be that he makes a similar type of movie. That's not wrong. I think his movies are excellent, so I'm not going to bash them. But he certainly does love these type of crime films. And he very much plays into combining the, like I was talking about earlier, the news stories, right? So he looks at what's happening around society in Japan, and then him and Kasahara write a script that I think shows the dark side of this lifestyle that's so easy to glamorize. So I don't mean to keep rehashing that. I've kind of talked about it a few times now, but I think this is what Fukasaku brings. His films are high energy. The violence is usually pretty visceral and pretty raw, and you learn a lot about Japanese history and kind of that 40s to 60s time frame, kind of post-war Japan as crime is on the rise because there's not legitimate jobs, the economy's in ruins. This is one of the ways that the country reacted, right, was through underground crime. This is when the rise of the crime families happened in a big way. So it's very interesting, I think, even from a history perspective, to see if you start with the Battles Without Honor movies, or maybe even better place to start would be Graveyard of Honor, and then work through the Battles Without Honor movies, and then get into this as sort of that final piece, the piece de resistance or whatever it's called. He's a director I love, I think I'll always love, but I do understand criticisms of him in terms of his films being just so energetic and high energy that the people that aren't really accustomed to reading subtitles might have a little bit of a tricky time following. So that's fair. If that's you, that's certainly fair. Okay. I'm going to have my phone out for a second because I just want to put this film in context of what was happening. This is right when New Hollywood was really hitting hard. So 1976 was actually a pretty amazing year for cinema. And it's cool that this was happening in Japan as well, because people like to focus on Hollywood in the 70s. You had All the President's Men, Rocky, Taxi Driver, Killing of a Chinese Bookie, Marathon Man. The Omen was a cool horror film from that time. Network was from there. The Tenet, Keoma was a cool film coming out of Italy. The Outlaw Josie Wells, Mikey and Nicky, which is a personal favorite of mine. Alice, Sweet Alice, Assault on Precinct 13. You see so many movies that are just in the collective consciousness as far as movie lovers go. So I think Carrie came out this year. I mean, it's crazy as I'm scrolling down. I could keep going, but I think my point is, New Hollywood was in full swing. There was a lot of focus there around the world. Those movies were getting pushed around the world. And here in Japan, you had these really cool, visceral, raw crime films that were coming out. And I guess some it might be tempting to say they were copying Dirty Harry or maybe some of these movies, but it's very different. Honestly, it's very different. This is its own thing. It happens to be a movie about cops and robbers or cops and criminals, but this is a very human story. I guess you could say kind of like a Bad Lieutenant type more than anything, but it's not even really that either. This is just fully its own beast, and a movie that I think should be seen and should be talked about as far as the best in that genre. It's very well done, and I'm a huge fan. Okay, so because we're going in spine order, I teased The Sunday Woman last time from Luigi Comencini, got it out of order, but we're going to talk about it next. So the Working Class Goes to Heaven, then we have Yakuza Graveyard, and then we have, I believe it's Welcome to the Dollhouse. Just three absolute bangers right out of the gate. And then Sunday Woman is number 4. So I'm going in pretty blind. Obviously, I like Marcello Mastroianni, who's in there. I don't know a lot about Luigi Comencini, so I can't wait to find out, and see y'all there.